Sairam to all of you,
Sairam.
dear sisters, brothers. Thank you all for coming. And thank you, Premaji, for your kind and warm introduction. When somebody speaks nice things about you, you just want it to go on. So next time you request, I'll make sure I'll send you a longer bio. Thank you, Brother Kumar, for patiently communicating with me and sharing your thoughts, and for extending the host's invitation to me. And it's a privilege, it's a never-ending privilege and an honor to be able to speak about a teacher, a master, an avatar, a guru, however we want to address him. To speak about someone who has had such a powerful influence, not in just one life, not in a mere handful of lives, but in the lives of every one of us, thousands and millions. Sai Baba, as we know him now, for almost all of us who know him, just is not somebody who became popular, but who touched us at many levels, at an emotional level, at a deep spiritual level. So much so that all of us today present here in this hall, we have a one-on-one communication with him. We feel he belongs to us. We feel we belong to him. He's become such a personal God to us. We speak to him, each one of us individually. We don't rely on somebody else to go to him. We know that when we sit in the altar, in front of his picture, it is not merely a picture that we are looking at, but it is a divine being that we are communicating to. Such is the power of this magnificent teacher. And therefore it is a very humbling experience to be able to even sit and say, I can share something of what I know of him. What do I know really? Or what do you know? What do we know as a group? Nothing. And it is okay to be a nothing at the feet of such a master. It's okay to say, I know nothing about him, rather than to say he should have done this or he should have done that, as if we know how he should have, or who he was, or what dimensions he had access to. My dear sisters, brothers, we are experiencing life through a very small perspective, if you will, through a very small telescope, if you will, through a very small window, which opens our consciousness perhaps in three different dimensions, right? One, when we are awake. Hopefully now everyone is awake, right? With a nice warm chai, which you might have had upstairs. So that is one state. We are all awake, we can hear some things, our senses are alive, and we receive information, we gather information, we store information. That is one level of dimension we are all exposed to, we can make sense. The other one is when we are fast asleep. We don't know at that moment that we are fast asleep, but when we get up, we infer, oh, I slept like a log, I don't know what hit me, I was out for the count. That is another dimension of consciousness we are aware of. And then somewhere in between these two, being wide awake and being fast asleep, we have somewhere where we dream, right? I get dreams where I'm not afraid of my wife, and that's good dreams. So we have those dreams. That is another dimension we are exposed to. Which one of these are real? The one that we spend most time in, namely being awake, is that more real than the dream state, which we perhaps spend only a few minutes in? But while dreaming, do we know we are dreaming? At that moment in the dream, we feel that is real. We wake up and say, this is real. And therefore, King Janaka asked Ashtavakra, what is real then? Because he explained, and Swami explained the story very beautifully. He said, King Janaka had a dream that his kingdom burned down and he was no longer a king, and he woke up and he realized, thank God, that was only a dream. Haven't we all been there, done that, right? We got up from a bad dream and said, thank God, that was only a dream. But King Janaka, the father of Sita, was much more wiser. He went to his guru Ashtavakra and he said, which of this is true? The one that was sleeping and got burnt in the dream, or the one who's awake and dreaming that he is the king? Which of this is a dream and which one is the reality? And Ashtavakra says, neither is real. Neither the one that you're awake and you think you are, neither that is real, nor the one where you dreamt and you thought your kingdom was burned down. Then the king asks him, then what is real? And Ashtavakra says, that is what you're set out to realize. The real self that is behind all of this. Why are we here today? Why are we worshipping the feet of such a beloved teacher? What is the essence of what he stood for? We need to ask ourselves on days like these. There were two of my favorite festivals in the year when it came to Swami. One was the Guru Purnima, which I began and I continue to respect more than any other festival in the Hindu calendar, because you can associate yourself and thankfully offer yourself at the feet of one who pointed to you the truth. And the other one is the day we celebrate as a birthday, the time when this such a guru was born. Celebrate not just his birthday, but the moment where such a divine being presented himself to all of us so that we may benefit from his divine teachings. And then the third important occasion for me, though not a very happy one, is the one when he attained the Samadhi, when he left his physical body and ascended just as Jesus did 2,000 years ago on a sacred day of Easter. So, to me, these are important days where we have a chance to ponder what is our relation with this Guru. The easiest thing for me to do today is to tell you some nice, beautiful stories, entertain you with some fancy and beautiful and yet true, powerful miracles that Baba performed. And we all have a good time thinking he is there, he is wonderful, he is the avatar, and we go home thinking, oh my God, when will I earn his grace? How will I get him? And so was lucky to be with him. So and so was lucky to have these chances with him. Who am I? Where am I? That is perhaps the easiest thing to do. It has been easy for us so far for many generations. It is easy to put a picture and make one a god. Because now all you have to do is light a couple of incense sticks, wave a camphor and arati, sing a few bhajans and say, he is happy, I am happy, good. And we carry on going back to our same CNN and special counsel being set up in politics and this versus that, and either it's sports or it's politics or it's cinema. And our conversations go back to what did you eat, what did you see, oh my gosh, what are you wearing, where did you get this, what's next in Amazon, what's the next gift I need to buy to my children, and this and that, and the life goes on. We seem to be going around in circles. And we satisfy ourselves that we have a one God who will look after us. And then we get bored of this God. And then we have another one coming up. And we say, oh, this one is even better. And thus we create a pantheon of gods and goddesses. Baba did not come, and this is my humble opinion. And please take whatever I say with a pinch of salt, because this is like a blind man describing to you what an elephant looks like. He can describe to the extent he feels what he thinks the elephant is. His description, his understanding is limited to his experience of the elephant. To me, I've always understood and I believe that Baba did not come to become yet another God in the collection of gods and goddesses that we have already been blessed with. Then what did he come for? What was the essence of his teaching? What did he stand for? To me, I strongly believe even to this day, and this will probably be my belief till the last breath of my life, because I've watched him teach this time and again to us as a small group, to me as an individual, to us as large gatherings of students and devotees. He came to remind us that we are the gods we seek. I am the God that I am seeking. And as long as I am seeking, I will not find myself. And therefore, I need to stop myself and start believing I am the God that I am seeking. Not I as Sunder, because that is just the name of this body. But I as that real self, the self that is above this waking state, that is above the dreaming state, that is above the state that we are fast asleep. So there is yet another dimension that I exist. That at this moment, I may or may not have access to or perceived that. I have not gone into that room and seen myself in that mirror. Not in the mirror of being awake like this, not in the mirror of my dream state, not in the mirror of my deep sleep, but in that fourth state, which Vedanta calls the Turiya Avastha, the fourth state. The state where we transcend the senses, transcend the mind, and yet exist. And in that state, the Sai and you are one. Baba told us in one of our many small little discussions, he would share gems which remained very close to my heart. In some context, he talked about the true devotion between a disciple and a guru, a true devotion between devotee and God. And what better example than Hanuman that he brought out. He said, what do you think was the nature of Hanuman's relationship with Rama? And we all said, Swami, he was, because it was Dasoham, he was a servant of Rama. And somebody said he was a great warrior in Rama's army and so on. Swami said, all of you are partially true, but not completely true. All of the others were also great warriors. Why does only Hanuman stand out in the story of devotion to Rama? And Baba explained. And this is something you and I can all take home, because before I present that, we got to understand the concept, because when we sit in a study circle or when we sit in satsang and we talk about this high philosophy of we being the divine beings and therefore divinities within us and divinities, we talk about it, right? We want to believe it. Then the question comes, but when I go home, when I go to my work, when I'm dealing with my children and my spouse and my other everyday activities, I forget it. How do I maintain myself in that? I was under the wrong impression at that moment, until that moment, that somehow we have to remain in this high state of consciousness to be close to Sai or to be close to God or to experience divinity. And that day, when Swami explained to us the nature of Hanuman's devotion, I realized that no matter where we are, we have a chance of still holding on to that. So how did Swami explain it? He said when Hanuman was caught in thinking he was the body, he was Hanuman, he was a Vanara, he was a monkey, he had to jump the ocean, and when he was thinking himself as the body, which is perhaps our comfort zone. We all think how tall I am, how short I am, how much hair I have, how much hair I've lost, right? So when you are caught up in that, when Hanuman was in his body consciousness, Swami said, he considered himself as a servant of Rama. Swami said the connection is important. He is seeing his reflection in Rama, but he is seeing it as a servant of Rama. It is his own reflection, but he is saying this is a servant reflection of a servant of Rama. And then he said, when Hanuman connected himself with his emotions, he wanted inspiration, he wanted motivation, he wanted to pray, he wanted to look up to something. He considered himself as a devotee, and Rama was his Lord. That is also a connection. He saw a different reflection in the mirror. In that reflection, he saw Rama being the God and he is being a devotee of God. But there were moments when Hanuman sat alone in deep meditation. He closed his eyes and went deep within himself. In those moments, he said, Rama and I are one. Swami said, all the three states are the same state. It is just perceived differently. He was one with Rama when he thought he was a servant of Rama. He was still one with Rama. He was one with Rama when he thought he was a devotee and Rama was a god. He was one with Rama when he also realized he and Rama were one. All three are important, Swami said. All three are important. You don't have to be only in that I am one with Rama state. Then he will not be performing the role that he did in the Ramayana. And Swami went on to explain the same father becomes a donkey for his 2-year-old, crawls on all fours, and the 2-year-old jumps on him. And the same father wears a suit and he goes as the head of a huge organization. There are 200 people bowing to him and he is bowing to his 2-year-old. It is the same person. The relationship between us and our divine self can vary based on circumstances, based on seasons of life, if you will, based on where we are at that moment in state of mind. There are many of us who can relate to this, if not all of us, that there are times you just want to sit quietly in peace and silence. There are times something has triggered us and we just want to sit and pray and talk and converse with Sai. And there are times when we are so clear in what we want to do, we set out to serve him and feel that we are offering our service to him. All of this, Baba says, you are actually conversing and tuning into your own higher self. That perspective is perhaps what is missing, and we need to just have that perspective. That no matter what I do, I'm actually conversing with my own higher self, and therefore I'm getting closer and closer to my own divinity. Why do I say this as conviction? Is because the 15 odd years that I stayed with him and the 25 odd years that I've lived away from him now, the more I have contemplated on him, the more I've meditated on his form, on his teachings, on his name, the more I begin to explore and understand what he stood for, the more I begin to understand my own self. It is almost becoming more and more evident to me that I am actually the image in the mirror, the reflection in the mirror that I am getting to see is becoming more and more clearer. And lo and behold, I am getting to see what I believe is my true image. And that image is so empowering, so enlightening, so peaceful, that I come back feeling so rested. We need to go into that room that is within ourselves. We need to go back to that home, which is our true home. That home where that divine reflection is waiting to reveal to you who you are. I think that is the essence of Sai. That is the essence of his teachings. Otherwise, we can pat ourselves on the back as to how many satsangs we attended, how many bhajans we have done, how many programs we have gone, how many retreats we have done, how long we have been devotees. And we can pat ourselves in the back, but the question will come as to what have I done with that devotion? Have I seen that mirror? Have I seen the true image? Have I had that true darshan? That is why Swami would say in Vedanta, he says, darshanam papanashanam. It will remove all your ideas of good and bad and make you eternally pure. Lift your mind above ideas of good and evil and all of that. Papanashanam, the idea of sin itself will be destroyed. Not your sins will be destroyed. Your idea of good and evil and all of that. Papanashanam. That darshan, but what kind of darshan is that? That darshan we need to get ourselves that, oh my gosh, this is my own self. There was a time I was very attached to Swami physically. I wanted him to speak to me. I wanted him to sign photographs. I don't know what, because that yearning, when you are with him, that magnetism, that energy that he would give is so intoxicating that you want to be there. You want to be in that aura of his presence all the time. I don't think there was anybody who knew him physically would ever remember a time where they said, oh, it's too long, I'm bored now sitting with Baba, I just need to get out for some fresh air. I don't think anybody would have even, that kind of thought wouldn't have even struck. But if I hold you now for 3 hours and go on talking, you might be like, okay, I can see everybody looking at their watch or their phone. But it never happened with Swami. So there was a magic in that aura that is inexplicable. He didn't have to perform any miracles to draw us to him. It was just his charisma, his presence, which I cannot explain. So there was a moment that there was so much attraction. And Baba slowly allowed it at first, and then slowly he tried to educate me to rise above that. And this was one thing he said to me that, again, I always remind myself. He said, if you like this so much, this is only a reflection. Where is the real Swami that you are looking for? He said, he is in you. This is only a reflection of what is in you. How beautiful is that? If we attribute so much divinity to him, if we are attributing so much divine energy to him, if we attribute he is the Sadguru, he is the divine avatar, we attribute all this, the 108 names are divine attributes that we apply to him. But if that is only a reflection, then the real Sai with all those attributes, where is that? That is within us. And therefore he is the most beautiful reflection of the divinity within. That's why he says, when somebody asks him, who are you really? What does he say? I am but a reaction, a resound, and a reflection of your own inner divinity. I am but a reaction. He would come out for darshan, and all of us, thousands of us would be there assembled. Each one of us would have a different interpretation of how Swami looked that morning. Somebody will say, why was Swami so upset? He was so serious. Somebody will say, his divine smile was so captivating. He would speak and somebody would say, he spoke so sweetly, so much pure love was oozing from his mouth. And somebody will say, oh my God, Swami was so angry today. I don't know why he was so strong in his speech. Reaction, reflection, resound. We only see a reflection. Everything in this world, therefore, every perception that you and I have today of a person next to you, or the person in your home, or your boss, or your spouse, or your children, or circumstances in your life, remember, is but your perception. It is not reality. It is your perception. And the same thing applies to him. He says, I am only a reflection, a reaction, and a resound of what you think I am, and of your own inner divinity. And therefore, the more we ascribe to the beauty of this form, the power and the divinity in Swami, we are actually beginning to understand that that is only a reflection of a true divinity that lies within me. My dear sisters, brothers, this may sound an abstract philosophy, but I think everyone here is matured enough today to understand that Swami is come to revive the ancient teachings of a culture that ruled this planet for thousands of years. When I say ruled, it's not politically, but in consciousness, in the approach to life, in the wisdom and the richness of traditions and the heritage. And the essence of that was draw your energy from the Supreme at all times. You have that access. Become hollow as a flute and let Krishna blow his melody through you. How much more beautiful it will be when you allow somebody divine to take over your life. And therefore, in that attempt to become an instrument, in that attempt to be a flute, in that attempt to become empty, rather, in other words, to take away this, otherwise the I that stands in the way, because I comes with a lot of baggage, right? So when we remove that I and the baggage slowly and allow him and only he to remain, then life becomes so much more empowered because he does the work for you. Sakubai was a great devotee, and Swami loved that story so much so because there was this actor, Janaki, I think, if I remember right, who acted as Sakubai. It's a Telugu movie. And Sushila, was it? Sushila was the one who sang there. P. Sushila, she was a singer. And I think it was Janaki, I may be wrong. But nevertheless, it's Anjali Devi. Thank you. Anjali Devi. She was the one who acted. And this was a black and white movie. And so these are some of the movies we sat and saw with Swami. So he would send that movie. And this was a movie enjoyed because of the songs being so lovely and so nice. And Swami spoke to us 2-3 days after that. What is the essence of that story anyway? The story is, this lady is a devotee of Panduranga, of Krishna. She only thinks of Krishna. There's nothing else in her life other than Krishna. But she's a servant maid. She has to do a lot of chores around the house. And there was a time she became so lost in Krishna that she forgot to do the chores. She didn't give this up and decide to think of Krishna. Remember that when you decide to say, oh, my homework is too much or my work is too stressful, I need to give up all this and think of God. It doesn't work like that. She didn't decide to give up her work and think of God. While doing her work, she saw so much of divinity and Krishna in every aspect, so she got lost into Krishna. And therefore the story goes, Krishna took over the work and took care of all the menial tasks that would have otherwise caught her attention and distracted her to hold that divinity. In other words, when the higher self takes over, you don't become unfit in society. You become more fit because the higher self knows how to help you run your regular day-to-day routine, how to be a better husband, how to be a better team player, how to be a better leader in your community. In fact, that higher self, when it operates, will operate at a much, much better level than where you and I operate from. That is the richness of our tradition. Have we explored that? Have we explored and tapped into that door which is infinite in its capacity to give? Have we opened that Pandora's box? Sri Swami tells us, it's within you, do it. That's why on November 23rd, 1983, he said, the greatest gift I can give you is start chanting this mantra, I am God, I am God, I am not different from God. I am Akhanda Parabrahman. Now I know this sounds like, oh, that is all good, but how to be practical? That's all a great idea. And we put it away. The more you put it away as abstract, the more we put it away as someday, somehow we will reach it, the more it will become there because your perception. The more you say, no, I will chant it, no matter how vague or ridiculous it might seem, let me start chanting it. And you take that one step and you watch how the divine opens that door magically and you begin to understand that a part of you is Akhanda Parabrahman, is incessant in its life. There is no birth, there is no death. A part of you will sustain and see through all of this and much, much, much more. And he takes 100 steps to begin to open those doors. Those are the doors which I truly, truly believe Swami has come to open in all of us so that we live more enriched lives. And that enriched life becomes an inspiration, a motivation for our children. Because they knew my mother, my father tapped into a source. That was what motivated them, inspired them, and they went through all the struggles in their lives with that courage, with that strength, with that faith. Just like you and I look up to Hanuman, who went through all those struggles of finding Sita. There were times, as Valmiki writes, he lost hope as well. He even thought of ending his life because he couldn't fulfill that mission. But then he went and said, no, I cannot simply give up like this halfway. I need to keep believing and working. And he continued that. That faith brought him results. So we look up to him and draw inspiration. How did he draw inspiration? Can we be inspirations to our children, to our friends, to our spouse? Or children, can you be inspiration to your parents? Just like Prahalada was an inspiration to his parents, right? Age really doesn't matter. It is we open our minds and our hearts to believing that, wait a minute, what is the essence of Swami's teachings? Is it simply coming and doing bhajans and forming groups and communities and organization and institutions? Is it all that, or is it something more? Each one of us need to ask that question. Otherwise, we'll wait for the next avatar to come and the next and the next, and we'll have, like I said, a pantheon of gods and goddesses in our altar, and yet we would be nowhere, waiting for the next magical mantra to come, or the next magical touch to happen, or the next miracle to take place. And we'll go on in this eternal path, saying, who are we? We are but humble souls. But that is your mind deceiving you with a cloak of humility. It's a deception. We need to believe that we are divine. We need to believe that each one of us here, each one, is a unique individual. I never get tired of this because that was another beautiful lesson I took home from watching Swami. He celebrated who he was. Who was he really? How rich was he? I want the small children to know. Where was he born? Was he born with iPads and phones and smartphones, which you all play when you're 2-year-olds? He was perhaps picking out thorns from under his foot because he was born in a village which was not even on the map of India. So you cannot tell, oh, he was born in a big city, he had some influence and therefore he did what he did. So here is somebody who says, all right, let's take all of that out. I was born in a village. Where is that village? Wait a minute, I have to find out where it is on the map, because today it is. But for the longest time, it wasn't even on the map of India. For those of you who are worried about names, what is the name of that village? Scary name, Puttaparthi. Place of anthills. How many of you would start a business and spend so many hours thinking, what name should I give? It should be an attractive name, powerful name, because we want to attract people. And here is a master who takes birth in a village which has a scary name, anthills, snakes, house of home, snakes and scorpions. What was his education? He dropped out of school. What kind of school would have been there anyway in 1930s and 40s, back in those little villages, right? You can only imagine. Because when we say we want to achieve something, we have a list of what we want to first fall in place. Right? We think logically. We say, all right, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are your threats? Let's do a SWOT analysis. We have graphs. We have technology. We have apps that do us thinking for us. And it looks fancy. When you have slide presentations, your parents are impressed. Wow, you came up with something. And you and I, we have this amazing idea of how and why we cannot do what Baba did, because X, Y, Z are not in place. And look at him, he said nothing was there, and yet that's why Baba would say, you give me nothing, I will build everything. And what we saw as students, as devotees who had the chance to live with him, was hard work, incredible determination, and an unflinching sense of authenticity and integrity. His integrity was unflinching. His thought, word and deed was the one. They were one. The Vedanta says, manas ekam, vachas ekam, karmanyekam. Where the thought, word and deed are unified, where you're not thinking one thing, doing something else and speaking yet another thing, but everything is unified to the goal that you set out to do. He is Mahatmanam, a great person. And Swami was that. He believed in something and he set out to do. Like a 5-year-old would set out, I want that. And he'll go straight for that. The mother has to put a leash on him. I don't know if you use a leash. I don't have kids. But anyway, you do something and stop him, right? No, don't go there. Wait, don't cross the road like that. But the child has set his eye on that little play structure, I guess, across the road, and he just decides to go there, right? But Baba was like that 5-year-old who just said, I want that. And he just went straight for that. And guess what? He got it. With what? With just that sense of purpose and that determination. He set all these as examples so that you and I can say, wait a minute, there is hope for all of us then. So let us not miss that opportunity and say, oh, he could do it, but I cannot. He is God, he could do it, I cannot. Then we miss the boat. Baba came and showed us that you give me nothing, I will do everything, because you can do the same thing. Because Krishna's story somehow became outdated, I guess, for us. Oh, born in a jail, which kids are getting born today, these days in jail? Oh, uncles throwing kids and killing siblings, oh, those things don't happen today. And how can somebody who was raised as a cowherd become the king of Mathura and an emperor in Dwaraka? Those are all fancy stories, we thought, right? We dismiss that, as that can never happen. How can a cowherd become the emperor? That's impossible. I thought like that. Then when I joined school, it was St. Xavier's High School, I was taught about the life of Jesus Christ. And I said, how can one son of a carpenter, whose birth is not even recorded, how can he suddenly become so popular? And no, it's just one more belief, manufactured beliefs. We pat ourselves thinking we are like the modern thinking, the age that doesn't believe in all of this mad belief. And yet comes another teacher. In our times, in our days, where we don't need to look for greater proof than this born in a village with no education. He starts his own university. How can an uneducated person, an 8th grade dropout, actually start a university? When I tell you Baba went as a 5-year-old towards his dreams, of his vision, if you will, it's like this. His very first college he started was what? A college for women in Anantapur. Talk of women empowerment. He was perhaps a trailblazer right then and there in 1960s, when the rest of the world was still grappling for equal rights and all of that. He had already seen that. And he said, in the heart of India, which talked at that point of oppressing women or suppressing them for whatever reason, because of years of being ruled by foreign things where they had to actually protect the women, it turned to become suppressing them, right? And Swami had to break that. We didn't do that consciously, but it just happened because more than 1,000 years we were ruled by foreign invaders who would rob our women away from home. So women were kept home, they were not sent to school. They were married off as soon as they came of age. So all of that slowly started becoming a culture and tradition, because that was what was necessary at that point in time. They were justified, because otherwise the invaders would grab these young girls, these young children, and take them away and convert them or kill them or do whatever. But then time came, Swami said, this is time for empowerment. And therefore the first institution that he set in Anantapur was an institution for women. He was a trailblazer in his vision. And just with 3 colleges, he said, I do remember this. When the college was started, he said, when will this become a university? He never rested to say, all right, we got 3, how many colleges we need to make a university, what do we need, and go by logic and approach slowly. We all think that's more practical. Let's approach slowly, don't grab everything at once. Let's take one step at a time, we tell ourselves, and we think you're wise. Perhaps we are. For the most part in our lives, we need it, but there has to be a part of us. We need to continue to nurture a child in us that is not afraid to dream, that is not afraid to reach out and ask for what this child feels like asking for. And Baba did that. I was at Baba's feet when Baba was asking some of these very well-established educationists, now that I have 3 colleges, how do I make this a university? And one of them cleared their throats and was very happy. Swami asked him. So he came out and said, Swami, first we need laser equipment for the laboratories. We need this, that. And he gave a whole list of things which, as I was listening, I was like, wow, this is never going to happen at the rate at which we are going. The buildings are not even complete of this the hostel was not ready. Puttaparthi college was just being barely finished. Classes were just being held in whitewashed walls, and we just barely managed to get things going. And so as he made that list, Baba finished listening. He says, okay, so what happens if all this is available? And then that person says, and then we have to invite a team called the University Grants Commission. They are a team of 27, 28 leading educationists from all across India. They'll come and examine, and they will grant or not grant the status of a university. The 5-year-old child says, I want that. And so Baba said, all right, let's call them. Now I'm sitting pressing Swami's feet. I thought Swami didn't understand the list before that, the things that needs to be accomplished. So I was just like, oh God, I don't think Swami understood what that person said. So that person again cleared his throat again very patiently. Ledu Swami, దీనికి ముందు అది చెప్పాను కదా, అది ఒక పెద్ద లిస్ట్, అది తెలుసు. Let that be. Let us call them. You see how innocent, straightforward, something that breaks our patterns of thinking, right? We like to get into a comfort zone and we stay in that comfort zone. This is who I am. This was my childhood. This is what defined who I am. Oh, I went through all of this in our childhood. That is why I am like this, and we define ourselves and then stay with that definition. We never break out of that definition. We never ask ourselves, what if? No. I have never experienced that. Let me stick to this. Right? Even if we want to sing a new bhajan, we say, no. This is my comfort bhajans. Wherever I go, I'll sing mine. I don't want to try anything new. So from the smallest to the biggest, we define a boundary of what we think we are capable of. We define ourselves within that boundary, including things like I'm good looking, I'm not good looking, I'm fit, I'm not fit, I can do this, I cannot, whatever it is, we define ourselves, we're experts in that. And then guess what? We stay in that definition. We become very happy. And then we say, God, you help me define myself more. You make me happy, you make my job better, you get me a good wife or a good husband, or you make me richer. And we expect him to help us get more and more conformed to this false definition of ourselves, which somehow we have defined. But here is Swami, who had every reason to be conformed in his so-called definition of village boy, no education, whatever it is, right? And he breaks from that, including listening to highly educated people telling him that in order to form a university, you have to have all of this in place, Baba, otherwise how can you call all of them?
But you don't think that divine sankalpa is completely different than the human sankalpa?
We all have access to that divine sankalpa. That is what we are, when I say this is who I am, then I close the door to that divine sankalpa that is waiting and yearning to express itself through the Sundar, through you. So Baba exposed that to us. How? Through sheer divine sankalpa, which doesn't need logic. It needs sankalpa, the will, the clarity. He says, let's call them. And they came. The buildings were not ready. They came, they saw. And they granted a university status. Here was an 8-year-old dropout sitting on the chair, and there were these 25 people crammed into that little room, sitting on the floor. Completely against every single logical way you would like to. If you want to get something out of somebody, you would place them higher than you, and you would say, please, whatever you want, please give me what I want, right? We lower ourselves to get what we want. And when you lower yourselves, the universe makes you even lower. But then he established who he was, what his vision was, and he shared that vision with them. And they walked out of the room saying, yes, this is a deemed university. At that very moment, Baba got that. And it was not just that, it was like that with everything. A hospital, he shared a vision of the hospital. He declared when that hospital will come, and the rest of it just fell in place. And Swami told me once, when I was very nervous before a sports meet, he had kind of put me in charge of a lot of other things. And I said, Swami, I'm so scared. I hope this meet comes together. I hope it works together. He said, for whom are you doing? For yourself? You want to feel good about it? No, Swami, I'm just doing it for you. Then don't worry. Do it for me. Give it to me. What is your worry? Give it to me. Give that to me. I will handle it. And that moment he said, if you are selfless in whatever you're doing, then the universe, and he used the word anugraha and navagraha. Okay, so he used all the 9 grahas, all the 9 planets in the universe will come to serve you, and you will get anugraha. Make it an offering. Don't own it. Make it an offering. That is why Baba would say, bring your mind to me, however grotesque, however disillusioned, however doubtful it is, bring it to me, bring it to the altar of the divine and say, this is who I think I am. Please, you take it and clear that. Open that door to who I really am. Right? We have all heard this beautiful quote of Swami, right? You're not one but 3, he would say. The one you think you are. So we all know, we think who we are. We have a nice way to describe who we are. See, I had my fantastic bio written, and each of us can write our own bio. This is who I think I am. So we have a bio of ourselves that is floating in our subconscious mind. Then there is the one others think you are. Oh, that's what he thinks. I'll tell you who he really is. And then they whisper in your ears. And then you start pretending what you think others, social media, right? You want to project yourself so that others like you. Whether you like it or not, I don't know. There was a time when I was young, I used to wear jeans so tight I could hardly breathe. But then that was the in thing. So I tried to fit into those jeans. Right? But we try to live for others. Because others think who you are. But then beyond all of this, Baba would say there's a third person, the one who you really are. Who are you really? Have you ever had a chance to ask that question? That is what Ashtavakra teaches King Janaka. That is what Krishna teaches Arjuna. Are you the one who's really fighting this war? Why are you taking it upon your shoulders as if you are the one who's fighting it? What are you giving big lectures about what is good and what is bad to me? Who is the doer? Are you the doer? That is the beauty. When we realize that there is a higher self working through us, it has been, but I falsely superimpose myself and say, I own my actions, I own my life, I am the doer, and I bring this drama of, relieve me from my doership, give me liberation, please help me, I am limited. But this drama was brought upon me by myself. All the time, there is one consciousness that is working through all of us, the divine consciousness. There is one Nataraja that is performing this dance. There is no doubt about it. This is the truth. You and I are all part of the Nataraja dance. His dance can never be out of rhythm. That is the divine cosmos. The one that has organized the planets and the universes and the galaxies and the birth, the death of stars and all of that. Do you think your life will somehow be out of rhythm? It's impossible to imagine, correct? We have to trust that dance. We have to trust that there is an energy flowing through me, and we have to allow that energy to flow. And when that trust happens, when that devotion happens, when that surrender takes place, then magic happens. Then through you, great works are achieved. That is the power of being an instrument of the divine. That is the power of surrender. Surrender is not giving up your little individuality, but surrender is actually allowing a bigger energy to flow through you. Surrender is not putting off a candle, but accepting the rising of the sun. The candle can be lit or the candle can be put off. But once the sun has risen, the candle, whether it is lit or put off, is immaterial. The sun is the one giving the light. You can keep the candle on if you want, you can put it off. That is not important. We are too focused on the candle. We have to know that the sun has risen, the Sai within us. Once it rises, once we begin to understand that divinity, then it doesn't matter whether who is doing what, really doesn't matter. Then we begin to understand a coherence, a sense of unity. In everything that is happening, you'll see a dance in action. And you just play your role. Be humble to play a role. Be grateful that I got a chance to play this role in this divine dance, in this drama. And life becomes magical. Trust me, my dear sisters and brothers. I believe in sharing my spiritual journey as a path, as a fellow seeker, as a brother, not as someone who has realized anything. I don't claim, I will never claim. Because the way I've understood self-enlightenment or self-realization is, self-enlightenment is a path. It's not a goal to be reached. It's a path to be in. Because if the self is infinite, how can you say I've understood myself? The self has no birth, no death, no boundaries, right? Aham nirvikalpo, nirakara rupo. So that understanding of the self will go on expanding. And in that expansion of myself, in the understanding of Sai, in my devotion and surrender to Sai, and allowing Sai to work through my thoughts, through my deeds, through my actions, it doesn't happen overnight, but in that slow, steady process of expansion, and that expansion becomes inclusion, not exclusion. I began to include everyone because, oh, this is Sai in action, this is Sai in action, this is Sai in action. And therefore, I will still kill the mosquito that bites me. But that is Sai, this is also Sai. Let Sai do that. I'll do the dharma of, you see, there is, this is me talking though. But Ekanath, who was a great soul, didn't say that. And Swami gives a nice story. And I want you all to think about it, youngsters especially, and all of us, I guess. This is a very powerful story. So Sant Ekanath goes to a river, Tungabhadra, I think, and he goes for his morning bath, and he takes a dip in the river. And a scorpion that is struggling to stay afloat stings him. And he shouts in pain, and he grabs the scorpion and flings it onto the shore. And then he comes on the shore and sits for a couple of minutes writhing in pain, and he says, oh gosh, it hurt. And his disciple says, oh my God, please be careful. And then the saint goes back into the water, and the scorpion again slips into the water, again comes and stings him. Again the saint screams in pain and flings the scorpion away. And then again, and this disciple says, oh, wait a minute, sir, you should kill that scorpion, it's continuously stinging you. The saint says, no. And he goes the third time, the same thing happens. And the disciple thinks, wait a minute, why are you doing this to yourself? What are you trying to prove? And the saint replies, something we all need to remember. He says, the nature of the scorpion is to bite. It is doing what is natural for the snake, for the scorpion. Scorpion is not born to love you and hug you, and it is territorial, it's instinctive, it's impulsive, it will sting. If it's in danger, it will sting. That's its nature, that's its dharma. He is doing his dharma. My dharma is to save. My dharma is not to sting or kill. Why should I go away from my dharma simply because that one is doing his dharma? You see how powerful that is? When we are tempted to react to someone, he hit me, I have to hit him. He put me down, I have to put him down. Wait a minute, what is your dharma? Who are you really? Are you only a bundle of things that will react to circumstances and people, or are you going to live who you are? This is what Swami proved, who he was. He always asked, what would I do? Somebody came and told him, Swami, so many people are saying so many things about you. This was the chief editor of The Hindu at that time, Professor V.K. Narasimhan. I was again a witness to this. And he said, Swami, I will write an editorial every day on the newspaper about you and all the good things you're doing. So we can silence these doubting minds. They're all the time criticizing you. We want to silence them. Allow me to write an editorial. Guess what Swami said? He used a very powerful analogy. He said, when Sai Gita, his elephant, referring to his elephant, when she walks all the way from the Gokulam, a kilometer away, when she walks in the festival, fully decked up, all the street dogs bark at her because she is passing through their territory, right? And he said, does Sai Gita stop and tell each dog, you know who I am? You stay and mind your business, I can crush you. And Swami paused and smiled and said, Papam, let them do. That is their nature, that is not who I am. So he went back to, what is my nature? You have to ask yourself, what is my nature? How do I want to live my life? Who am I really? What is my uniqueness that I bring to this world? And every one of us today, science has agreed, right? DNA is not the same. Each one of us is unique. So think of that. You're not one in a million. You're one in what now? 8 billion? I don't know what the population is. Let's say 8 billion, right? If not, it will reach there by tomorrow sunrise. You are one And that is just human beings we are talking about. In creation, you're one, period. Not one in a million or one in a billion. One. You are unique. You are the only one. Next time you look into a mirror, think about that. Wait a minute. I am the only one in this universe. Wouldn't you celebrate that? Why do we give up that celebration of that uniqueness to why don't I look like them, or why don't I have a car like them, or why don't I have a home like them, and we compare ourselves with somebody at some point, consciously or subconsciously, we're constantly comparing. If today I tell people eating sugar is bad, give up, they say, everybody is doing it, how can it be bad? That's the whole problem. Everybody is doing it, therefore I will also do. Everybody is going down the drain, so I'm also going down the drain. Because we are not, who am I? What do I believe in? If I believe something, let me do it. And so that was what the beauty of Swami was. At 14 years, he set out a mission in life. How many dreams we had as 14 years? I wanted to join the Pune Institute, I didn't. Well, I'm grateful that didn't materialize. I had a chance to meet Swami. But there are so many things we compromise and we say, okay, that's life is but a compromise. We just can't all achieve everything we want. We bring up some philosophy and we adhere to that philosophy. But every time an avatar comes, every time a guru at that stature comes, he breaks all those and says, wait a minute, you can have the cake and eat it too. You can realize your wildest dreams if you only believe in yourself. And what is it that you need to believe in yourself? You believe that you are divine. You have access to that infinite energy in the universe, that you can draw that resource that is unending in its capacity. You can call upon that. That was the idea of devotion. Devotion is meant to empower you. The next time you get up from your altar, if you feel weak, know that your prayer has not left the altar and not gone anywhere close to the divine. When you get up from your prayer feeling strong, confident, peaceful, calm, serene, then know that your prayer has already been answered. Those are the moments you will not ask, you will only thank. You will only thank. Because in that gratefulness, you are opening your mind to the realization that I am but an instrument. Where there is hatred, I also love. Where there is injury, pardon. Not to the rest of the world, but to myself first, to my family. And therefore it is, I truly believe that in occasions like this, like the birthday of Swami, we need to celebrate our own divinity, our own uniqueness, and begin to allow that uniqueness to find an expression. Swami was unique. He wasn't tall like others, maybe. He wasn't educated like others, maybe. He wasn't fair like others, maybe. He had a curly hair which no other holy man had. He had a flashy robe which no other holy man that at that time or even today would dare have like this look. He looks like a rock star. And yet he touched millions of hearts. He's a God to you and to me. We go to bed sleeping to him, speaking to him. We wake up singing praises of him. How does that happen? Because he allowed his uniqueness, and therefore with every avatar that becomes unique, Sai becomes a unique avatar. Just as Shirdi was a unique avatar at that time. How many avatars at that time brought Hindus and Muslims together? How many at that time decided to live in a shabby old Dwaraka, right? Today it is $1 million worth property, but those days, who would have even gone there? Snakes and scorpions lived in those nooks and corners, and Shirdi Baba decided to live. In that apparent poverty, he established that he has access to the greatest of treasures that you and I can even imagine. That is the beauty. And if you and I can access those treasures, then believe me, we won't lose our sleep at nights and the stressful situations that we have. We are afraid to lose this or that or pay this bill or that. All of that, like Krishna helped Sakubai. He will come and take care of all the little menial tasks. Will all fall in place magically. I don't know how to explain that. The universe knows that. Let the universe work the magic. Why are you and I trying to figure that out? The universe that brought the beauty of the planets and all of this together will fix your life. All you have to do is open your heart and believe that it can happen. Take a wish, present it to divine. tell Swami, Swami, this is the wish you are giving me. I don't know, it's coming to me. So you take it, make it happen. And I'm so grateful that you will make it happen. Believe that it will manifest. Maybe not the way you wanted, maybe not at the time that you wanted, but believe me, when that wish manifests, it will manifest far, far more beyond what you imagine. And you'll only be grateful. Only be grateful for that manifestation. That is the beauty of bringing God into our lives. So devotion has to be reflected in self-empowerment. That is why we praise Hanuman, who was empowered by his devotion to Rama. Whereas all the other monkeys said, oh, how can I cross? Somebody said, I can do 50 yojanas. Somebody said, I can do 100. And Valmiki says that they could have actually jumped, but they were portraying small because they were afraid to do that task, because they didn't know what lied ahead of them. But yet Hanuman was empowered because he said, if Rama has given us a task, he believes that I can do it. And therefore, I trust his belief in me more than I believe myself. And therefore, I will do it. So that devotion to Rama gave him empowerment. So even though he was not sure whether he could do it or not, he said, if he has trusted me with the work, then he knows that there is something in me that can do it. Let me allow that to happen. Same thing with Arjuna. Swami would tell us, and I'll end with this, and Swami would ask us, why was Arjuna chosen for the Bhagavad Gita? I mean, there were sages who did so many years of tapas, who was in Krishna's presence. There were so many gurus. There was Dharmaraja himself, the embodiment of Dharma, the eldest brother of the Pandavas. Why would Krishna pick up a warrior? I mean, everywhere he goes, he would come back home with a princess. Those days, okay, guys, don't get ideas now. So, why would he pick up Arjuna? And Swami said this beautiful thing. It is because Arjuna trusted Krishna more than anyone else at that time in life. More than anyone else, the person who completely, implicitly trusted Krishna was Arjuna. And Swami gives an example. When Krishna saw a bird and he said, oh Arjuna, look at that dove. And Arjuna would say, yes Krishna, it's a beautiful bird, it's a beautiful dove. And Krishna would say, are you blind? That's not a dove, that's a crow. And Arjuna would say, oh, you know what? Yes, that's a beautiful crow. And Krishna would say, no, that's not a crow, that's a parrot. And Arjuna would say, yes, of course, Krishna, that's a parrot. And then Krishna asks Arjuna, don't you have your own eyes? What do you see? Is it a crow? Is it a dove? Is it a parrot? What is it? Arjuna says, this is why he earned the Bhagavad Gita, right? He was the one who received it firsthand. This was what, guess what his answer was? He said, Krishna, I trust your eyes more than I trust mine. If you think it is a crow, then it is a crow for me. If you think it is a pigeon, it's a pigeon for me. If you see it's a parrot for me. It doesn't matter what I see. That gave him the right to receive the Gita that continues to inspire so many millions of people for so many thousands of years, right? The greatest teaching that ultimately there is one doer for all this. Allow that doer to do his work. We just step out of the way. That is what it means by get your ego out of the way. Cut your eye, clean a cross, and let your ego die on the cross. That's why we gave the essence of Christianity in just one sentence to us. So it is not a false sense of humility that we need to portray, but it is a divine sense of self-empowerment, that this empowerment, this capability of doing is not because I am the doer, but because he is the doer. And therefore, this task will be done by him through me. And because it's being done through me, I am grateful. And therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, let us be grateful that we were given this chance to be exposed to such a teacher at this time and age. Swami said, my work will never go wasted. The seeds that I have sown will not only benefit you, but your children, your great-grandchildren, and so many more generations it will. And so whatever you do, whether it's a bhajan you're singing or you're bringing a child and the child is sleeping on your lap as you sit through the satsang, it doesn't matter. You are sowing that seed and you're passing on that message of this great teacher that has come to bless us, to awaken us. There might be a little Vivekananda in the midst here. There might be a Prahalada in our midst here. There might be a Mirabai or a Sakubhai here, waiting to inspire millions based on his teachings. We never know. Let us all be instruments. Just open the doors and allow people to experience Swami the way their hearts speak to them. Don't say this is how you should do it or that makes it dogmatic and religion. Allow that spiritual connection to flourish. Have a direct one-on-one connection with Sai. Because that connection with Sai is your connection with yourself. And if you go for a middle person or a priest or somebody who will say, Baba is speaking through me or Baba is doing this through me and that through me, bow to him and say, wonderful for you. Go back to your altar, because the moment you bring a middleman, you are blocking that door to your own higher self. Every moment you prostrate to Sai, you're prostrating to the higher self within. At the end of it all, it is only the higher self that is the doer. He is the doer. And in his own words, I will end, he says the journey of life is from I to we to he. Thank you. Sai Ram.